Hello, everyone, and welcome to 100 Football Sports Talk Radio. I'm your producer, Logan Landers, and today we have a very special episode talking about why is Malik Willis the top QB in this upcoming 2022 NFL Draft. We have an amazing episode coming up for you guys, of course, with our main guy representing the 901 Memphis, Tennessee, Mr. Football, Vincent Turner. How you doing this morning, sir?
How you doing?
Doing great. Good. And, of course, former NFL draft scout for the New York Jets, one of the hardest working guys in the sports industry today, getting interview after interview, putting up article after article, representing Key West, Florida, Mr. Daniel Kelly. How you doing, sir?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thank you, Mr. Landers.
Of course, it's always a pleasure having you on. Be sure if you enjoy this video, this episode of the podcast, to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We go live each and every single week on Facebook and YouTube. And, of course, check out our podcast at 100 Football with a ton of amazing content, close to 700 episodes with legend reviews, history specials, draft specials, recruiting specials, anything and everything football related. We have it over there for you to listen to. But before you guys get started talking about Malik Willis, guys, the big game is finally here as we hit Super Sunday with the last game of the football season. And as always, BetOnline has you covered from odds, scores, totals, player performance props to where the next fired coach is going to land. BetOnline is the number one spot for all things betting in 2022. And it's not just football. BetOnline's basketball, hockey, boxing, and UFC odds casino or coverage is the best in the business. From sports right down to your favorite Vegas casino, BetOnline is your number one online wagering destination. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to get you started. The fastest and easiest way to wager on all of your favorite sports and play your favorite games, BetOnline, where the game starts. So, Mr. Turner, please get us started about why Malik Willis is the top quarterback in the NFL draft.
As you heard that great introduction, is now we have sponsors with BetOnline. We'd like to say thank you to the Believe Network. And as always, coming to me every week to talk about these great prospects. My man out of Key West, Florida, he's got a tremendous book out there, Whatever It Takes. And right now he's taking a lot of prospects in the first round of the NFL draft. But please go to his book on Amazon, Whatever It Takes. It'll change your life. So, my man, Mr. Daniel Kelly, as we're going to break down why is Malik Willis the top quarterback in the 2022 NFL draft, and this young man, Mr. Kelly, is very, very excited about Mr. Willis. Matter of fact, he said Mr. Willis is the number one quarterback in this year's 2022 NFL draft. So take it away, DK. Why do you see this young man out of Atlanta, Georgia, by way of Auburn University, who transferred out? Sorry, War Eagle. And he went to Liberty University. And you saw what is happening. He did his thing at Liberty University for 2 years. But tell us about Malik Willis.
Absolutely, Mr. Turner. Good morning, everybody. Malik Willis is a guy who has really grown on me over the last few months. I had him rated earlier this fall as a first-round draft choice. From day one, I've envisioned him going to the Detroit Lions. I think that's the fit for him, which is interesting because this past week he had a chance to be down the Senior Bowl. And he worked with the Lions staff, and they fell in love with him even more from what I've heard. So that seems to be a real fit. Ironically, for SI Jets, I came out. I was the first person in America that had him rated going number 2 to the Detroit Lions in my top 10 mock for SI Jets. Which is very shocking to a lot of people who thought that it would be Kenny Pickett to be the top guy, or somebody else, or Matt Corral. But no, Malik Willis has really captured my attention, guys. This past season, I went out and I looked at 5 different games recently on Willis because I'm always held accountable to the game film. I say this week after week, but so many of these draft experts in America just shoot from the hip with no accountability whatsoever, and I don't believe in that. I looked at Malik Willis against Old Dominion, Campbell, Ole Miss, Syracuse, Troy, in Eastern Michigan. So So a total of 6 games looking at his full body of work in the 2021 in the college season. And let me start by saying, when I wrote him up this past week for a new website, a new draft service I'm starting to write for called Draft Fuel HQ. This guy, Malik Willis, is the most dynamic player that Detroit has had, if they're lucky enough to get him, since Barry Sanders. He's somebody that I have tagged, as you said, Mr. Turner, as my QB1 heading into the 2022 NFL draft. And here's what I look at when I come up with this, is that the Detroit Lions have been one of the most downtrodden organizations in the NFL, at least over the last 30 years. The last time they were in the NFC Championship game was early 1992 against my team, the Washington Redskins. So that's been 30 years since they've been in the championship game. And here's what's going to happen. I mean, it's going to take a lot more than an edge rusher. It's going to take a lot more than a safety. It's going to take a lot more than another corner or an offensive tackle to turn this organization around and save Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell's job in Detroit. And that is going to take a quarterback. This is a quarterback-driven league. We've seen it with Cincinnati, with Joe Burrow going from worst to the Super Bowl in 2 seasons. If you got to have a quarterback back there, and I can tell you right now, I write for SI Detroit Lions. Jared Goff is not the answer to that team, and there's been rumors he might even be traded out of there. I think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were mentioned. So the need for a quarterback, for a dynamic, game-changing quarterback, is there, and that is who and what Malik Willis is and would be to the Detroit Lions. Detroit's offense, as I'm talking about, it looks like watching 60 Minutes on CBS after football. I mean, it's conservative. 2 of the 4 top receivers are a running back and a tight end. Their top receiver was a 4th-round draft pick out of USC, Amon-Ra St. Brown. They lack explosive playmakers. They lack anything threatening. They lack excitement. They are anything but dynamic, and that's, like I said, who Willis is and what he brings to the table. Let me say this, guys. Malik Willis is the most dynamic player in the 2022 NFL draft. His 40-yard dash time last time he was clocked was his sophomore year at Auburn, a 4.37. Woo! 4.3740. 2021 stats: 61.1% completion percentage, 2,857 yards, 27 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Now, also, we got more stats to talk about. 2021 rushing statistics. He had 197 carries, 878 yards, 4.5-yard average, 13 touchdowns, and a long of 56-yard stats, courtesy of ESPN.com. What am I saying? What does 1 + 1 equal? It equals the fact that this guy is a dual threat. Is what we're talking about, a true dual threat. This guy is probably the best running back quarterback we've seen come into the NFL since Michael Vick. He's a guy that would change the complexion of Detroit's offense. He's very athletic. He's a playmaker. When we break him down, he's got a big NFL arm. It is inconsistent at times, but he has the NFL arm. As I touched on, he has the top shelf speed, 4.37. Ouch! That's going to get it done. One of the things that stands out the most about Malik Willis to me, guys, is that nothing rattles him. He continues to play. I think CBS Sports came out with a nice article about it, about the Ole Miss game. They were outclassed. Liberty was outclassed at almost every position. He was sacked 9 times. He threw 3 interceptions, but he continued battling, continued fighting. Nothing rattles this guy. And he has a decent feel for pressure in the pocket. He plays with a consistent high confidence. He has excellent ball handling, play action skills. You actually have to look for the ball, unlike some of these guys that just go through the motions with the play action because that's part of what they've been taught. This guy shows he can go through his progressions. I've seen his head scanning the field and moving and looking around as he sits back in the pocket. He moves around well in the pocket, as I touched on. He can make make something out of nothing. He can roll to his left, roll to his right, throw on the run. He's got a good short intermediate game. Primarily, he likes to throw outside of the hashes, outside on the perimeters is where he's most comfortable. In the short and intermediate, even deep part of his game, he's got decent deep ball accuracy. So really at all three levels, I was impressed. Route levels, short, intermediate, and deep. He tends to stay out of trouble with the football. This is huge. I worked with Bill Belichick at the New York Jets. Belichick was always very much so about protecting a football. That's why we see a Mac Jones in New England, is because Jones protected the ball well at Alabama. This is something that's very important. He stays out of trouble, so you're not looking at a guy that's going to come in like a Zach Wilson and throw all these different kinds of interceptions, or Trevor Lawrence. He protects the ball well and tends to stay out of trouble and not take a lot of big risks with the football. He throws some passes. He throws some wild passes, I call them. He throws some dimes, intermediate on the deep level. And one of the things I like most, because he's athletic, because he's a true dual threat, it's a term that's way too loosely used in scouting. Not a lot of guys are dual threats. Just because a guy's running for his life does not make him a dual threat. This guy can actually beat you with his feet. And one of the things I like about him most is he can make defenses adjust to him because he's on the move. A little bit of RG3 in him from that standpoint when RG3 came out of college. And he can run like a running back, folks. This is not some guy that's sliding. This guy runs. He's tough to bring down. He's an exciting runner. So there's a lot of things I just unpacked that I really like about Malik Willis, especially for the Detroit Lions. They've never had a quarterback like this in their franchise history. In the last 40 years I've been watching them. The things that are negative about Malik Willis, the things that he needs to work on, are these things. These are smaller things, but the ball does tend to sail a little high on him at times. I notice a lot of receivers reaching up to catch his passes. When it comes to ball placement, he's got some inconsistent mechanics. Occasionally he'll sidearm and zing one in there, but he'll still complete them. It's just something he does out of necessity sometimes. He's got inexperience throwing to the inside the hashes down the middle of the field, but he shows in the game film that he can do it when called upon. And he actually threw a pretty mean looking slant route and put some juice and mustard on over the middle. The biggest knock I have on Malik Willis, they all have knocks. I mean, come on. Every player there's no tens, as Tony Rosano used to say, the old scouting director for the 49ers, a book I learned how to scout on called Secrets of NFL Scout. There are no tens. Everyone's got knocks. One of the things about Malik Willis is he can hold the ball a little too long for my liking at times and take some unnecessary sacks. He needs to get better at throwing the ball away when he's going down and it looks like he's not going to be able to make a play and not lose yardage. But that's something that a lot of these college guys need to work on when they're coming out. In other words, he needs a faster and a quicker release. He's going to need to work on his timing routes when he gets to the next level. And they all do, because what happens in the college football is a lot of times quarterbacks wait until the receivers come open or just stand there waiting for the ball. You can't do that in the NFL. So timing routes, he will need to work on that. And the second thing I look at is he made some costly mistakes. At the end of the game against Army, Ole Miss, and Syracuse. Against Army and Ole Miss, he had a couple late interceptions. Syracuse, he had a fumble. I did not like that. He can lock in at times on some of his receivers. And maybe one of the bigger things, too, is reading that pesky deep safety over the top is something that he's definitely going to need to work at the next level. But like I said, he'll come into the NFL. He'll have a few things, as I mentioned, he'll need to work through, like all rookie quarterbacks need to get, when they get their feet wet. But this guy, as long as he plays within himself at the NFL level, and what I mean by that, as long as he doesn't get crazy with things and take too many unnecessary chances and try to win the game on his own, he should be fine. His upside far outweighs anything he needs to work on. Outside of trading for Deshaun Watson, if he clears the play this season, outside of trading for maybe a Kyler Murray, who all of a sudden is extremely upset at the Arizona Cardinals, seemingly by scrubbing his social media and getting rid of all Cardinals pictures and also attachment to the team. Outside of getting guys like that, and really, Detroit doesn't have a great chance at landing those guys to begin with. But outside of that, Malik Willis is the guy. He is a dynamic playmaker who will sell tickets, sell jerseys, and most of all, he'll make this offense exciting and dangerous. Mr. Turner.
Well, before I get into my commentary, we got an announcement for our producer, Logan Landers, about our sponsor.
Yes, sir, Mr. Turner, you are right. And guys, what's more important than being safe? Nothing, right? And that's why NordVPN is here for you, to give you the peace of mind while you are online. And with all of the threats that you face today on the internet, it is more important than ever to be sure that you have the best VPN you can get. NordVPN is the world's best VPN service, offering the fastest connectivity, most servers, and next-gen encryption to make sure that everything you do online stays secure. Plus, you can use NordVPN on all of your computers and devices, no matter the operating system. With NordVPN's unlimited bandwidth, you never have to worry about slow connection either. And plans start at under $4 per month. So grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/believe or use code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to get up to 70% off your NordVPN Plan Plus, one additional month for free. It's also risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. So, Mr. Turner, please give me your thoughts on Malik Willis and why you think he's going to be a star in the NFL.
Okay, when you look at, and I want to say, if you like the video today, please come in and share it. The thing with Malik Willis that I saw the young man play in high school at Roswell High School. Then I saw him go over to Westlake High School. So I got a little bit of knowledge about the young man in high school. But what I really, really respect about Malik Willis is this right here. He left Auburn University. He went there to back up Jaron Stenham and didn't get his time. But what happened was Auburn signed the Golden Wonder, Bo Nix, and we saw how that happened. Right now, since Malik Willis has left, they lost 2 head coaches. But the young man, to me, has got all that great talent coming into the National Football League. When you look at the arm strength, when you look at the delivery, when you look at the poise, when you look at the leadership, there's one thing that I like about him. He's go back like all the likes that came in the league from an African-American perspective playing this position. So to me, he's representing Michael Vick. He's representing Randall Cunningham. He's representing Willie Thrower. He's representing Marlon Briscoe, James Harris, Grambling University, Joe Gilliam, Cam Newton, Randall Cunningham, Lamar Jackson, 1966 Tennessee State, Eldridge Dickey, Steve McNair, Vince Young, Johnny Walton, Vince Evans, USC, and Conrad Holloway, the University of Tennessee, and Warren Moon, Washington. He's got all those type of skill sets. And you brought up something too about him, DK. I didn't realize this morning. I know he was fast, but I didn't know he was a 4.3 guy, had got time at Auburn. So that makes him all more serious. Then, like you brought up his statistics, 47 touchdowns in his 2 years at Liberty University. Then the dual threat thing that I like about him. Now, when you looked at Michael Vick when he was in the league, Michael Vick kind of ran first. You looked at Lamar Jackson kind of ran first. But when Malik Willis comes out of the pocket, he runs under control. And then what I like about him most of all, to just see when I mentioned all these great other quarterbacks, how could he play when the lights were on, the neon lights? All I got to say is the Senior Bowl, baby. He went down that last week in Mobile, Alabama, and a lot of teams fell in love with him. And then look what he did in the game. He didn't throw for a lot of yards. I think he was 2 for 4, 11 yards? But he had 54 yards rushing. And he had that 27-yard rush in that game. So what that's telling me is that he's a young man that can grasp the spotlight. He went down to the Senior Bowl, did his thing, but most of all, he's got a situation where I think he can be great at the next level. And if he gets with any team, I think he's going to turn their vultures around. And when you look at the quarterback position right now, everybody's talking about Kenny Pickett, everybody's talking about this. But Malik Willis puts me in the mind of a guy that came into the draft in 1978. That was the #1 overall pick out of Grambling University. And then he became the first African-American to win the Super Bowl. Then he won the Super Bowl MVP January 31st, 1988. And Malik Willis has got some of that in him, and Doug Williams, who I'm talking about. And think about what Doug Williams did in that second quarter. 5 consecutive possessions. 14 minutes, 17 seconds left in the second quarter. But in 5:47, he threw for 5 touchdowns, 80 yards, 27 yards, 50 yards, 8 yards. And when the game was all over, the Washington Redskins had won the Super Bowl. I'm telling you, Malik Willis is finna be a star like Doug Williams that day. Neon lights on Broadway. Final words, Mr. Daniel Kelly.
Well, now you're talking my language, near and dear to my heart there about Doug Williams. That was my team and my day. I remember January 31st, 1988, like it was last week. That was an incredible at Jack Murphy Stadium out there in San Diego. That was an incredible game for sure. Malik Willis, let's not make this too complicated, okay? For any NFL owners out there, or any general managers, let's not make this too complicated, okay? Because in Major League Baseball, if anyone hears of a scout, hears of a pitcher who's throwing 100-mile-an-hour fastball, okay, they don't walk, they run. Okay, you have a guy that can run a 4.37 in Malik Willis. You have a guy with a big arm. Okay, that's all you need to know. Okay, bring him in, especially if you're the Detroit Lions. They haven't had, like I said, anybody like this in their franchise history play quarterback for them. They've never even been to a Super Bowl, let alone never won a Super Bowl. Okay, you need to take chances. You need to do something. You need to be aggressive. Okay, and the thing you touched on, Mr. Turner, is the fact that he runs under control. And the thing I think is going to make it very interesting when he goes to a team like a Detroit Lions is that because he can roll around, scramble, he can throw on the run, he's going to add a different element to their offense, or any offense for that matter, because now defenses have to adjust to him. Now he's a real threat to run the ball. Now they have to put a spy on him. Now they have to adjust what they're doing for this guy. Listen, when it comes to top 10 in the NFL draft, you've got to come away with a playmaker. You've got to come away with someone dynamic. And Malik Willis is, again, the most dynamic player in this draft in 2022. I tell you what, if I was the GM of the Detroit Lions, I would send the card in. And if I was a scout, I'd be standing on the table for this guy.
My final words, we like to say one more time. If you like the video today, please come in and share it here on Malik Willis. My final words about Malik Willis, I'm very happy for the young man. His uncle played in the National Football League, James Anderson, so he's got some pedigree. He was drafted by the Carolina Panthers in 2006 out of Virginia Tech. But remember, I did mention Westlake High School. You know all the great players that when Malik played there 1 year, Pac-Man Jones, Cam Newton, Sean Jones. So he's been around greatness. And what I say about Malik Willis, he's finna be a star like the great George Benson. He's finna be that neon light on Broadway. Like when a young man out of Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, with the Chinchilla Coke in 1964 was the #1 draft in the AFL. His name was Joe Willie Namath. I see Malik Willis really being on that type of level. And he's going to be a very, very good football player in the National Football League. So, my final words. This show has been presented by Bet Online Betting. We surely appreciate it here at 100 Yards of Football. And thank you to the Bleed Podcast Network. If you like football, you like the draft, please follow 100 Yards Football and my man, Mr. Daniel Kelly, the best that's done it in the business. Thank you and have a blessed day.